All right, let's do a quick AV test here. So when you guys hear me and or see me, preferably both, go ahead and say something in the chat room just so I know that this is broadcasting and I'm not speaking into the void. So yeah, I know there's a bit of a lag, so just say something once you. Perfect. Jason sees and hears. Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you all for joining. I jumped in and started it a couple minutes early just to say howdy and say thank you for joining my impromptu webcast. I know I emailed about this a bit on a short notice just day before. So I'm excited at the number of people who registered and the folks who are showing up to attend. I'll be sending out a recording afterwards for anybody that wants to watch it after the fact, and then the webcast will be up on my site if you want to link to any friends to it. So the long and short of it is I'm going to be giving a presentation at a remote conference in a few weeks, and I wanted a chance to test out my material, test out my slides, see how it went, see what questions I got. The topic is getting more clients without spending more on marketing, and I wanted to do a run through of my talk. I'd say the talk's at about the 80% complete level. There's a few things I still need to add, but it's a strong skeleton, and hopefully we'll teach everybody in the room some actionable tactics to get more clients and build their business. Yeah, exactly. Just like a comedian practicing for a stand-up special, I figured why not see how the material works and get some feedback, and if it works perfectly, excellent. If there can be improvements, I'm all open to hearing them. So in the Q&A session or afterwards in email, please feel free to write into me and be like, hey, you mentioned X but didn't quite explain it well, could you explain it a little better, or could you explain it in this way? That type of feedback, any constructive or positive feedback, very, very much appreciated. Let me check to see attendance so far. So got a good number of people in so far. Let's give it a minute or so, and then we'll kick over to the presentation itself. This is my first time using Webinar Jam as a platform, so it's an exciting adventure for me as well. We've got the chat feature there. I saw a Q&A feature. I'm not sure where it disappeared to. Oh, if you click on the little chat icon next to write your message here, you could switch to chat or QA answer and ask questions there, but I'll be monitoring both. So preferences for questions in the Q&A one, just so it's easier for me to monitor it. I'm going to be speaking at the freelance remote conf that I can't remember, Chuck puts on annually. Let me drop a link in here. Freelance remote conf. I could find one. But yeah, I'll be speaking at the freelance remote conf, and I think that's in about a week. Here we are. 5 days. So I am practicing my presentation just like I practice my college presentations, very short before they're due. Here's a link to it. I spoke last year. It was wonderful. The speaker list this year looks absolutely amazing. We've got a bunch of wonderful people: Sherry Walling, Jonathan Stark, Glenn Stovall, Austin Church, Curtis McHale, Liston Witherell, Philip Morgan. Awesome, wonderful, wonderful people. So if you have a chance, highly recommend checking it out. They always put on wonderful remote conferences, and I'm honored to be taking part in it. And I'm so thankful for you all coming out to give feedback on the talk and take part in this extraordinary, wonderful event that is a webcast. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and flip over to the presentation proper. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and we will see if it is successful or not. Looks to me like we are seeing the slides, so that is good news. Let me just pop my console over there. Great. If you can see the slides, it says freelancer marketing brief, get more clients on your screen. Can you pop something into the chat just so I know that it's working? Excellent. Excellent. Glad to hear it's working. So let's dive into it. So today we're going to talk about getting more clients as a freelancer, as a consultant, as an independent consultant, as an independent business owner, but without necessarily spending more on marketing. And we're going to talk through 3 different strategies you could use starting today, starting tomorrow, starting next week to bring more clients into your business, to get more projects for your business without spending more on marketing, without needing to increase that investment. So, what you're in for today, the topic, how to get more clients by doing less marketing. The lecture, approximately 20 minutes. This is the second time I've run through it, so it might take a little longer, it might be a little shorter, but I'm estimating it's around 20 minutes in terms of me talking at you. And then we flip it around to a question and answer session. So as questions come up, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A area, the question and answer area, and I'll answer those questions during the Q&A section. Or you could save your questions and ask them during the Q&A session. And video recording, we'll have that available for viewing. Probably take me a day or so to get it turned around, but I'll be emailing it out to everybody who registered and posting it on my site so you could share it with friends, rewatch it, whatever you would like. And coffee, if you have some to share, yes, please. I would love some coffee. I left mine in the other room at 10:59 p.m. So the sacrifices we are making for this webinar are shared all around. And in terms of what you'll be learning, we're going to be talking about what I see as the #1 most powerful channel for getting more clients and more projects. And it's a channel that 95% of freelancers and consultants aren't using effectively or aren't using proactively. We're going to be talking about, if I could change slides, there we go, how to turn a hidden asset inside of your business into a lead generation machine for your business. It's something that every freelancer, every business owner already has, but whether you're just starting out or you've been in business for years, you might not be effectively using it. So we're going to talk about a few simple steps you could use with this hidden asset to start generating more leads, more projects, more opportunities right off the bat. We're going to be talking about an unlikely piece of advice that actually goes against the entire idea of this webinar, how you could get more projects and make more money while actually working with fewer clients while investing less in marketing. This is one of my favorite strategies, and I think that it could be applied to any freelancer in any industry and produce amazing, amazing returns. And finally, we're going to talk about why these marketing strategies, when all put together, can have you overwhelmed with client work without spending all your time or without spending a larger investment on marketing. So the first strategy I want to talk with you about today is referrals. And referrals are one of the most powerful forms of marketing when it comes to working as a freelancer or working as a business owner. I'm amazed at the number of freelancers and consultants I speak with where they tell me that the #1 channel for their business is word of mouth, people referring clients to them. And whenever I hear that, I get frantically excited. I'm like, tell me more, tell me more. And 95% of the time when I ask people, well, what are you doing to generate these referrals? The response boils down to they just naturally happen, or the client enjoys our testimonials, or they really enjoyed working together with us. There isn't necessarily any proactive outreach for these referrals, but it's still, for countless agencies and countless consultants that I've spoken with, been one of the most consistent sources of new business and new projects for them. And so I think if we strap some intention, some schedule, some system onto the concept of generating referrals for your business, it improves your ability to generate referrals and get more clients. And so when it comes to referrals, it really boils down to a 4-part system. The first one, you're going to send emails. The second part, to people you know. The third part, telling them who you work with and what problems you solve. And the fourth part, then asking them for referrals. Really, if you take anything away from this webcast today, it's this core idea that to generate referrals or generate more business, you don't need to necessarily be investing in Facebook advertising or social media or search engine optimization. Instead, just by opening up communication channels with people who are your best buyers, people who could refer you to your ideal clients, people who are in your target market, you could generate more projects and more clients for your business. So when it comes to sending emails to people you know, what I highly recommend is focusing in on past clients, colleagues, and friends. When you're looking to generate referrals for your business, one of the most powerful strategies you could use is to reach out to people you've worked with before, people you've worked with in this industry or another industry, or friends who have some industry connection. Just reaching out to them and saying, hey, by the way, I'm working with this particular target market, and I'm helping them solve this particular type of problem. Do you know anybody in that target market who needs help solving this type of problem? They might say yes, some might say no, but the few that say yes are going to connect you with people who will produce more projects and more leads and more conversations for your business. Uh, uh, and a large part of this is what I call generating a referable moment, telling the people you're reaching out to for referrals who you work best with and what problems you solve. When you combine those two elements together, you make it so much easier for somebody to give you a referral. If you say, hey, I'm looking for clients, and then just stop and pause, people will be like, that's great. Who do you work with? How can I connect you with more people? But if instead you say something like, hey, I help development shops that specialize in launching software as a service application, minimal viable products, get from idea to a concept they could show investors. Wow, you're really targeting who you work best with and that problem you solve. And when you share that specific statement with somebody, when you're asking for a referral, it makes it that much easier for them to say, oh, I know exactly somebody to refer you to. And this connects with this larger idea of focusing on just your best buyers. It would be easy for us to say, let's run a referral campaign where we contact every single person we could think of and say, hey, do you know somebody who needs help? I could help them. But we'd be contacting every single person in the world. We wouldn't get that great of a return. Instead, by focusing in on just the best buyers, just the people who match our target market and saying, hey, this is who I work best with. This is the problem I solve. Do you know somebody who matches this profile? It becomes that much easier for them to say, well, yes, I do. Let me connect them with you. And that brings us to that final concept, asking them for the referrals. We need to specifically make that ask. We need to make our intention clearly known. Hey, I'm emailing you because you're somebody who I consider well connected. I'm, working on the marketing for my business or working on a new direction for my business, and I'm specializing in helping target market solve this particular problem. Do you know anybody who works in that market? If you do, I deeply appreciate a referral or a connection. If not, no worries whatsoever. But by making that ask explicit, we're saying, hey, I'm looking for referrals to these types of people. If you know these types of people, feel free to connect them with me. Here's how to go ahead and do that. So how do you get started with referral outreach if this sparked your imagination and you're saying, oh, Kai, this seems like something that could generate, a couple leads or a few conversations for me? Well, what I recommend is start small and simple. Make a list of just 10 past clients that you've worked with. Or if you're just getting started as a freelancer, make a list of 10 colleagues or connections you have to the target market or the industry you want to work with. Then email them. Send them a simple email that says, hey, I'm working on improving my business. I'm focusing in on this specific market to solve this specific problem. Do you know anybody who works in that industry who needs help solving that problem? If so, I'd love to be connected with them. From there, follow up once, twice, 3 times, something comfortable. You don't want to overwhelm them with your follow up. But what I've seen time and time again in outreach campaigns for myself, for my clients, and for my colleagues is that responses to your emails, be it a referral email, a project email, a cold outreach email, whatever it may be, the responses and replies typically start with email 2, 3, or 4, not the first email. So by planning ahead and saying, well, I'm going to dedicate some time to this outreach campaign to ask for referrals. And I'm going to plan ahead and say, I'm going to write the first, the second, the third, and the fourth email I send them. It makes it that much more effective in terms of your outreach. You're able to plan ahead for that follow-up, generating more referrals, generating more people responding back to you. Chet Holmes, an Ultimate Sales Machine, says it perfectly. How important could your service or product be if you're willing to give up after sending one email and not hearing back from them? So I think it's incredibly important when we look at any of these types of strategies to get more clients, be it referral or the other two that we're going to cover, we think about follow-up. We think about what we'll say to people in our second email or our third email to produce more value for them, provide them with something interesting, and continue to say, oh, by the way, if you know somebody in that target market, I'd love to connect with them. Finally, you want to repeat this entire process weekly or monthly. When you're getting started, I advocate just repeating it monthly, starting smaller, starting slower. So once a month, you'd list those past 10 clients or add 10 new clients or colleagues to that list. You take your first email and send it out to them. You'd follow up once, twice, 3 times with them over the next month and see what conversations that produce. This way, you're able to get started with referral outreach for your business. But It's small. It doesn't take too much time. You could dedicate an hour a week or less to implementing this. And the cost, well, there's really no marketing cost associated with it. You're sending emails from Outlook or Gmail. You're setting a reminder to follow up with them. You're using templates that you're using. And it doesn't increase the amount of time or the cost you're necessarily spending on marketing. Instead, you're spending your time on reactivating and maintaining your most valuable relationships. Speaking of relationships, I think they're another incredibly valuable asset that we as independent consultants have access to that could produce work for us or referrals for us or projects for us. In my talk at W Freelancing Conference in 2016, uh, I said one line that stuck out with a number of the attendees and a number of the people who have seen the talk. It's that periodically we want to make sure that our marketing messaging is in line with our understanding of our target market. If we specialize in working with dentists, well, we're going to be working a lot with dentists. We're going to be learning about their pains and problems, but maybe our website doesn't exactly say, oh, hey, I work best with dentists and this is the problem I solve. And maybe our email communication or our colleagues or the relationships we built up over time, well, they don't know either what our new specialty is or where we're focused on in our business. So by actively maintaining your relationships through outreach, by building these relationships, by reminding them of what you do, by providing value, you're able to generate more value, more referrals, more connections, more partnerships for your business over time. And so how do you do this? Again, it breaks down to a simple three-step formula. First step is, well, we're going to be sending emails. The second part is we're going to be sending them to people we know, people who are already contacts or connections. And third, we're going to be sending these emails to maintain our relationship with them. In terms of what types of people to email, I recommend emailing past clients, colleagues, LinkedIn connections, anybody that's really in a database you've built up over time. And LinkedIn, in this case, serves as a perfect database of industry contacts we've connected with over time. So we want to take this list of contacts or colleagues and use that for our relationship-based outreach. So sending these emails to people to maintain the relationship, it's not necessarily to immediately pitch them on, hey, you should hire us to work on your thing, or to say, oh, hey, do you have a referral right off the bat, or how can you work, or how could we work with you? It's to maintain that relationship and remind them of who you work best with, the types of problems you solve, and to continually provide value to them. So what are some examples of ways you can maintain that relationship? Well, here's a few. You could, in these emails, one email could just ask how their business is doing. Just reach out and say, hey, Tim, it's been a while since we talked. I'm just curious, how is business going? What's the latest news on your side? I'm really excited to hear. Just hit reply and let me know. Type as much or as little as you'd like. You could update them on major projects you've completed as a business owner. So you might have shipped a large project or released a case study or completed a pillar project that aligns with your new positioning. Well, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out to your contacts and say, hey, by the way, we just completed this super exciting project and we wrote about it over here. Just checking in. How is your business doing? What have you been up to recently? Again, we're working on maintaining the relationship, keeping it conversational, sharing something exciting and asking what's exciting on their side. You could also share industry news and information. Oftentimes, when I advocate this type of relationship based referral outreach or relationship based outreach to people, one objection that they have is, well, I don't know what I'm going to email about or tell them about, or I haven't been blogging actively. How am I supposed to share content? Well, if you're going to share industry news and information, it doesn't necessarily need to be news and information that you yourself have produced. Instead, it could be sharing market data or reports or information that you've found elsewhere. And you get this wonderful opportunity to reach out to a contact that you want to maintain that relationship with and say, hey, by the way, I just read this super exciting article or industry report on your industry and how this trend is happening. I wanted to share it with you. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts. Have there been any great articles you've read recently? Again, we're maintaining the relationship to try to start this conversation. You could invite them to a strategy call to discuss their 6-month roadmap. This might be a great opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We haven't talked in a while. My business focuses on helping businesses like yours achieve this outcome. If you'd like to schedule a free 30-minute call just to talk about what your strategy is and what your 6-month roadmap looks like, I'd love to make myself available for that. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about their business, their goals, and what's on their roadmap, and even other people they know in the industry without it feeling like a sales call per se. This is an opportunity for you to say, okay, high level, what is your strategy? What are you doing to address these changes in your industry? What changes are coming down the pipeline in your industry? And these calls become an opportunity to deepen and strengthen that relationship. You could share interviews and talks you've taken part in. If you've spoken at a conference or you've been interviewed on a podcast or you've recently published an article on your site or a guest article on somebody else's site, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out and add more value to this conversation while maintaining the relationship and saying, hey, by the way, I was just interviewed on this podcast over here. I think you'd love it. We talk about A, B, and C. Go ahead and check it out if you have a few minutes. I think this bit right here is the most entertaining of all. I think you'll love it. What podcasts do you listen to? Or are there any conferences that you frequently go to? Again, we're sharing information, we're adding value, but we're also trying to initiate this conversation by asking questions and having people engage and respond back. You could also send them books, articles, and other resources that you have access to. That could be a more advanced but a very effective way at maintaining the relationship. I have a close colleague who published a book last year, and the book acts as a retrospective on his career to this point. And he said, well, by publishing this book, what I've done, intentionally or not, is create the world's best business card. He now has a book that summarizes all of his work over the last close to over a decade, I believe, that he could send to a prospect or a colleague or a friend and say, hey, I published a book. I think you would enjoy reading this book. Here is a copy of the book. And it becomes a wonderful way to maintain that relationship, update somebody on what you've been doing, and let them know, well, hey, this is the direction my business is heading in. And tell me more about your business. What have you been working on? Finally, I like asking if they need a referral to any service provider. Oftentimes, when we think of referrals, we think of it as a one-way street. We're going to ask somebody if they need if they're able to provide a referral, and then we get a referral to someone else, and yay, we're happy. But I think the truth is more that if you are asking if they need a referral to a service provider, you're providing value in that conversation. You're able to say, oh, hey, I'm just curious. Are there any projects you're working on where you need to be connected with a consultant or somebody who could help solve that problem for you, whatever the problem may be? They might respond back, oh, yeah, we're in desperate need of a developer or a designer or somebody who specializes in marketing automation. Do you know anyone? And you're able to use your network as an asset to connect them with people who could help them solve that problem in their business, providing more value and strengthening that relationship. Finally, you could ask for a referral to other people in their industry who might benefit from your service. I wouldn't recommend asking for a referral right off the bat while maintaining the relationship, but after you've had 2, 3, 4 touch points with somebody you have a relationship with, somebody you've worked with in the past, somebody who's a colleague or a contact or a connection, then it becomes more appropriate to ask for that referral. So there's a realtor story that I absolutely love telling. A pair of friends of mine bought a house about 2 years ago in Eugene, Oregon, and their realtor is probably the most badass person at follow up that I have ever heard of or encountered in my life. This woman has found a reason to provide value and follow up with them every single month over the last 2 years since they bought their house, the anniversary of them buying their house, their birthdays, the anniversary of them getting married, the anniversary of them moving to Eugene, every holiday that comes up, special occasions like, hey, we just sold another house in the neighborhood. Isn't that exciting? Welcome your new neighbors. The realtor's follow-up here is to stay top of mind in my friend's mind. So whenever my friends are asked, hey, do you know a realtor? Even though their realtor hasn't been pitching them nonstop, the realtor has been doing consistent follow-up to maintain that relationship. So when somebody does ask for that referral, when somebody asks one of my friends, hey, who was the realtor you worked with? They're immediately able to say, oh, it's this person. And, oh, they just shared this recent information with me, or I know they're working on this project, or they're very, very effective at follow-up, or they're very, very effective at getting the job done, helping us get a house, helping us sell a house. So maintaining these relationships pays dividends in terms of getting referrals, getting more clients referred to you, or getting more repeat projects down the line. When I think about my friends, they bought a house that's for them more of a starter home. They plan on living in it for the next 4 to 6 years and then selling it and upgrading to another house. Well, chances are when it comes time to sell this house, they already have a realtor in mind that they're going to work with because it's the realtor who's been in touch with them every single month for the last 2 years and for the next who knows how long. When they're looking to buy their next house, they'll probably work with that same realtor. Even though I'm not in the market to buy a house, they've referred the realtor to me, and the realtor started emailing me and saying, hey, just checking in. I know you live in this neighborhood. There's a house for sale over there if you're interested. So, this power of persistent, polite, value added follow up can help you build relationships and better maintain them over time, resulting in a larger sort of luck surface area for projects or opportunities that come your way. And it all comes from investing time in maintaining those relationships. So, how do you get started with this relationship based outreach? Well, I think it comes down to, again, listing 10 past clients or colleagues or acquaintances, 10 past people that you want to maintain a relationship with, emailing them, following up once every week or three, and then restarting this process weekly or monthly, grabbing another group of 10 past clients or acquaintances or contacts, sending them the first email, following up, providing more value, and cycling through this over time, getting up to the point where you're in touch with 10, 20, 50, 60, even 100 different past contacts, maintaining those relationships. And as new opportunities happen or new developments happen in your business, it becomes second nature to say, oh, by the way, I've got an exciting update for you. This is what's just happened. Tell me about your business. And through this relationship building, through maintaining your most valuable relationships, you're going to increase the number of projects that come your way and the number of referrals that come your way. The third strategy that I highly advocate is repeat client projects. So, again, this one is a bit contrarian to the idea of this entire presentation. I started off by saying, hey, we're going to talk about how to get more clients, but isn't our real goal more money, more income, more revenue? And if we could achieve that with less clients, well, that'd be almost as good if we're able to say, well, I need 10 projects a month to make my target income. Well, what if I only needed 10 projects, but I only needed 5 clients to get those 10 projects? So I think if your goal is to make more money for your business, by optimizing for client lifetime value, the total value of that client over the lifetime of your relationship, instead of the volume of clients you work with, it becomes easier for you to generate projects and make more money for your business without needing to find 10 new clients for 10 new projects each month. Imagine if you had a 50% repeat client rate. Well, that would mean month one, you work with 10 clients on 10 projects. Month two, 5 of those clients say, hey, we've got another project we need to work with you on. And you say, excellent, that's one down. So when you have a 50% repeat client rate, you move from needing 10 new clients each month for those 10 projects to 5 new clients plus 5 repeat clients every month. And some clients might repeat quarterly, some clients might repeat annually, some clients might repeat weekly or monthly, depending on your business and depending on their needs. But by optimizing for client lifetime volume, by optimizing for repeat projects with your clients, instead of getting more clients at large, you're able to accomplish that goal of having a more sustainable business, making more money as a consultant without needing to get more clients or the same number of more clients at the top of the hopper. So, in terms of repeat client projects, again, the process breaks down very similarly to what we've talked about before. You're going to send email to people you've worked with, and these people, ideally, I think, are past clients. You could definitely work referral outreach into this, but the best way to get a repeat project from a client is to reach out to a past client and say, hey, do you need any help with that thing? You want to continue providing value. We talked about some different ways to continue providing value before, asking how their business is doing, updating them on major projects, sharing industry news. And then you want to suggest working together. Once you've reestablished that relationship or opened up that conversation, you want to move forward to saying, well, hey, how can we best work together? And there's a few different ways you could politely weave that into your conversation with a client. You could ask how their business is doing and say, hey, how's business? Is there anything you need help with? You could, like I just said, ask if there's anything you could do to help them grow their business. And you could also let them know, hey, right now I'm booking out my schedule for May or June. And if you need any assistance on a project, if there's any outcomes you're looking for that I could help with, I have some availability right now. Just let me know, and we could schedule out a time on my calendar and get to work on this project together. So, all of the concepts that I've touched on here are outreach marketing, maintaining your most valuable relationships with people by sending an email, acting authentically, providing value, and building and maintaining and managing those relationships. If you're interested in learning more about outreach marketing, I have a free course on outreach. You could access it at freeoutreachcourse.com. And I've also written one of the industry leading books on outreach, Outreach Blueprint. And you could access a copy of that at outreachblueprint.com. A little about me, I'm Kai Davis. I help independent consultants uncover hidden profits in their business without spending more on marketing. And thanks so much for joining this wonderful, wonderful webcast. I'm going to pop off the screen share and answer any questions and turn on the webcam. There we go. So while I wait for people to drop some questions into the Q&A or the chat, one of the questions I often get with outreach marketing is, well, hey, what exactly should I be doing to get started? What should I be saying in these emails? And what I recommend time and time again is, as you get started in outreach marketing, start with either a small list of people, 10 past clients, 10 colleagues, 10 acquaintances you want to reach out to, or just start with one. And for that one person, write that one email where you're asking for that referral or just following up to maintain that relationship. And then say, okay, I have this email. I sent it to one person. Well, what parts of this email can I reuse in future campaigns? What parts of this email need to be customized per person that I'm sending it out to? Obviously, we can't send the same name, so we want to customize the name. Obviously, we might not use the same intro, so we customize the intro. But what I found is, if one of the challenges is saying, well, I don't know what to say in my emails, by just writing that first email and starting that conversation by saying, hey, this is the email I'm starting with, then you're able to iterate on it over time. And this is in fact how I approach my own outreach campaigns, be they small campaigns or large campaigns. I'll pick one target person, write that first email, and then zoom out a bit metaphorically and say, okay, for this campaign, I've written this first email. What parts of it do I need to customize? What do I need to change? What after sending do I not like? What could be improved? And I'll work on improving each email in my campaign the same way, writing it for one person initially, and then moving forward to writing it for a second or a third or a fourth person until I find the correct email that I want to move forward with. A wonderful question just came in. How do you find good prospects for outreach? And that's really $1 million question when it comes to outreach. So depending on the type of outreach campaign you're working on, there's a few different data sources that you might want to look at. If you're doing like a referral campaign or a couple of the campaign types we've touched on in this webcast, then it's valuable to look at past client lists, colleagues list. But going a little broader than that and brainstorming on some other data sources, I've found success for different types of campaigns looking at other people in the industry, non-competitors in my industry who I could reach out to. If I'm practicing marketing consulting or working with freelancers, or maybe I'm a development shop who specializes in working with software as a service startups who have just received Series A funding, well, there might be non-competitors in the market, people who also serve that same target market, but don't offer the same service that I do. So I could reach out to these people and say, hey, I also work with these people. I'd love to refer people who I'm working with or who aren't the best fit for me your way. Would you be interested in doing the same? So looking for non-competitors in your market can be a wonderful place to do outreach. You could also look at competitors in your market and see, well, they have client lists published. You could often look at a portfolio on a competitor's website and say, oh, wow, here's a list of 30 or 40 different people that they've worked with to solve this type of problem. That could become a source of outreach for yourself. That's more cold outreach, where you're reaching out to initiate a relationship for the first time versus reactivating an already warm or already existing relationship, but looking at these competitor sites and seeing, well, who have they worked with? And then reaching out and say, maybe doing a market research outreach campaign. Hey, I noticed you hired XYZ firm to help with a project. I'm just doing some market research. Would you have some time to set up a 15-minute call to talk about why you chose that firm, the project you worked on, and the outcomes you saw? That could be a wonderful way to use competitor outreach or competitor research to generate your prospect list. When we go a little bigger, there's a few tools that I advocate using to build outreach lists and then winnow them down through a process of cleaning. At the top end, we have a tool like builtwith.com, which lets you search the web based on the types of technology or the keywords contained on a page that a site is using. I have a colleague who does A/B testing, and we were working together on an outreach campaign to say, well, can we identify a list of sites that run Visual Website Optimizer, but do not have any tests running on their site? And using BuiltWith, we were able to say those exact queries and generate a list, and it gave us back a list of 200 different sites that were running Visual Website Optimizer. They had the embedded code on there, but didn't have a test actively running. And those become high value prospects for him to reach out to because they're already investing in outreach, but haven't necessarily or not invested in outreach, investing in A/B testing, paying for this tool, but they aren't using it at the moment. So those become people he's able to reach out to. So there's a number of different ways you could tackle building that prospect list. And I have an article coming out on my site next week on different sources of prospects, different areas to look in. And I'll send that out to the list and you'll be able to check that out and get some more ideas for data sources for building that prospect list. Patrick asks a question, sent this exact thing out to folks. All return answers that they don't know anyone. What do you do from there? Pipeline is dried up. Use your template and all. That's an good well, not a good situation. That's a challenging situation, but brainstorming off the top of my head. So you've reached out to people, you've used a referral based template. They said that they don't know anyone. I might look at your positioning and see if your positioning is super crisp. Oftentimes, when I've worked on a referral based outreach campaign and people have responded back, hey, I don't know anyone, it's because I've done a very poor job in communicating who that ideal target is for my business. So, step one that I might suggest is looking at your positioning and saying, well, am I specifically identifying a type of business? Am I specifically identifying a type of outcome that I help that business achieve? Am I clearly communicating that in the email? If not, those are opportunities to improve, maybe revisit and say, oh, hey, maybe I did a poor job of explaining it. These are the type of people I'm looking to connect with. Now that I've clarified it, do you know anybody who matches that description? But maybe your positioning is perfectly on point already, and that's not the issue. It might be that the people you're reaching out to uh, uh, just don't know anybody in that target market. So what I would say is it's not an indication that outreach of this sort isn't a good fit for you or your business, but rather that broadening number of people that you're reaching out to could be the most effective next strategy to take. So if you started with outreach to 20 or 30 people saying, okay, what other contacts could I reach out to? What other past clients, what other people in the industry can I reach out to? Oh, you just pasted your message here. Let me see. Quick update on a question. Refining my positioning, focusing on helping SaaS companies build products their users want faster. So I think it's actually a positioning problem. So I think you're doing a good job in identifying, hey, you work with SaaS companies and you help them build products their users want faster. But I'd say SaaS companies is a very broad horizontal definition. So it encompasses multiple different industry verticals. So it's a horizontal going across the verticals. When we say SaaS company, it's hard to know, well, what type of SaaS company? Salesforce is a SaaS company. Salesforce is a gigantic SaaS company. There's tiny SaaS companies with 1 to 2 employees who are bootstrapping their way. So specifying either based on market research, market data, or criteria, hey, I'm looking to work with SaaS companies that have just received their Series A and are looking to build that first version of their product to get it to product market fit. That might be a way to better state who you're working with. Likewise, you say build the products their users want faster. I actually think that's pretty good. No optimizations come to my mind for that. Maybe focusing on helping them. It might be that for your target market, they're also looking for help understanding what products their users want. So there might be an opportunity to mix that in there. But I think by better specifying what type of software as a service company you're looking to work with, it will improve your positioning. It goes from SaaS companies, all buyers, to this specific vertical. Healthcare software as a service companies who have just received their Series A. Super specific and super narrow, but by targeting our outreach for referrals just for those types of people, we create more referable moments for our business. A couple other emails adjusting that to stating SaaS startups, but not directly funding vertical. Yeah, I think if you attach a vertical to it, if there is a vertical you enjoy working with, that could be valuable. If there's not a specific vertical you've worked with extensively in the past, then you could start using basically pick the verticals that you most enjoy working with or you want to enjoy work with, or an assessment or an array of verticals that fall under the horizontal. Say, like, I'm looking for software as a service companies in industries A, B, or C. Do you know anybody in industry A, B, or C who needs help of, building the products their users want faster? I think that could be an optimization. One other thing that just came to mind, that phrase, build the products their users want faster, that's the outcome that you're helping them achieve. But one thing to consider is that phrased in the way that the software as a service company is experiencing the pain? Are they saying, well, we want to build the products our users want, but we're just too slow at it? Since your expensive problem there focuses on, well, hey, if you're looking to do this, I'll help you do it faster. There might be an opportunity to say, well, this is a different outcome that they're looking for, and this is the benefit to achieving that outcome. So I might suggest refining that aspect of it as well, thinking about the language that your target market within the software as a service space would use to describe that problem, and then incorporating that into that expensive problem or outcome that you're focused on. Another great question. Any tips for getting started with cold outreach when you don't have enough past clients? Yeah, a couple tips that come to mind. Referral outreach is typically what I recommend for somebody who's in the position of not having an extensive client portfolio, but wants to generate more clients off of their positioning and the expensive problem that they solve. In those cases, I recommend referral outreach to colleagues, to friends, to acquaintances, to people who work in the industry, and use that to generate referrals. And with that referral type outreach, potentially have the ask be, hey, I'm just doing market research around this. I'm just looking to get on the phone with 10 or so people who work in this industry just to learn more about the pains and problems they're experiencing and how I could help their business grow. Those types of asks are or can be better received than an ask for a sales pitch. I'm still testing two campaigns right now to see which performs better, a direct ask for a market research call, or more of a, hey, here's a valuable offer and do you want to get on a call to discuss it? My inclination is that if you're starting out with cold outreach and you don't have a large client base right now, one of the more valuable activities you could do is market research focused outreach, where your goal is to get on the phone for a 15-minute voice or video call with somebody in the industry, ask them questions about the pains, the problems, the issues they have in their business, and then use that data to further refine your outreach. At that point, you've essentially built a relationship with this one contact. And then I recommend going back to those contacts you've acquired through this first round of referral outreach, people who are in the industry, and not directly pitch them on your services, but instead saying something like, well, hey, uh, uh, I'm curious, do you know anybody else in the industry who would benefit from talking with me about this problem or about this issue? Who else would you recommend I speak with? And that could be a wonderful way to sort of start a flywheel of referral based outreach, where your initial outreach is to friends and colleagues who could introduce you to people inside the industry. And your second round of referral outreach is to those people you connected with, asking them for referrals to more people in the industry. So that's one method that could work. Another method that could work is sort of more large scale automated cold outreach, where you say, well, based on my positioning and based on the expensive problem I solve, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant or use a prospecting service to build up a list of clients and companies and prospects I want to contact. Once you have that list, then you could start outreach to them for a market research call, for relationship building, for referrals, for something else, and use those to generate initial inquiries on your side for setting up a project or talking with you about their business. That generally works best when you have a large sample size to work with. The response rates on pure cold outreach campaigns like that can be lower. It works very well as a strategy, but I typically recommend it to people who are more comfortable using an automated solution like Reply App or Blue Tick by Mike Tabor, or have a large database already and are willing to say, hey, I might send 1,000 or emails to 1,000 people, and those 1,000 emails are going to result in 5 phone calls. There might be a large gap between the number of people you contact and the number of people who respond saying, yes, I'd love to talk with you. So focusing on referral based outreach or relationship based outreach to a contact list can be a valuable action to take. Caesar asks, isn't research a me thing versus providing value to the prospect? That's an excellent question. And it's sort of a double edged sword, where when we're doing initial market research, you're absolutely right. It is very much a me thing that doesn't provide a lot of value to the prospect. Hey, I want to ask you questions for 15 minutes. Well, great, where you're going to ask me questions. What's in it for me? What I found is pairing that market research ask with an offer to answer any questions they have about their business or your knowledge or area of expertise as it applies to their business can often be the incentive for that market research based call. Hey, I'd love to set up a 20-minute call with you. I have a few questions I'd love to ask. I'll send them across ahead of time. I expect it will take around 10 minutes for us to work through, pardon me, to work through my questions. Once we're done with these questions, I'd love to, open up my brain to you. Any questions you have about my area of expertise or the projects I've worked on or the type of outcomes that my clients or people I've worked with have achieved, I'd love to answer anything I can for you. That provides that you focused value for the people we're contacting rather than having the research ask just be very me focused. Great, great, great question. I'm so happy you asked that. Dun dun. We've made it to the end of the questions people have asked. If there's any other questions that people have, please feel free to drop them in. Super helpful for what we could offer to them rather than a card. Yes, yeah, I agree. I think that figuring out that way to provide value, and sometimes it's answering questions that they have, sometimes it's sharing resources with them, sometimes it's offering to make introductions to them, can be an incredibly valuable attachment to that market research based outreach. There's I don't have the right phrasing for this yet, but I think of it as being sort of an iterative process where you start out with market research based outreach and you're asking questions to learn more. And your initial outreach emails, your initial conversations, they're not going to be the best. They're going to be you taking your assumptions and your high level understanding of what they're looking for and saying, okay, this is my first attempt at an outreach email. This is my first attempt at a market research conversation. Let me see what I discover. Once you do 3, 5, or 10 of those, you're going to know so much more about the industry that you'll be able to refine your outreach emails and talk more about the pains and problems that they are experiencing. So rather than saying, hey, can we get on a call for 20 minutes? You're able to say, hey, I noticed you work in X. I'm curious, do you have a strategic plan to deal with this upcoming regulation or thing or deadline or big issue that people are facing? If not, I'm a consultant who specializes in this. I'm doing market research around how industries are solving this problem. If you have a solution already or not, I just love to chat with you for 10 minutes about what you are or are not doing. And in exchange, I'm happy to offer any advice I can to help you put together a plan for this or optimize what you're already doing based on my knowledge. Would you be free for a 20-minute call at A, B, or C time next week, or pick a time here on my calendar? So the more market research we do, the more we're able to improve our market research emails to better focus in on the pains and problems we now understand the target market we're working with is actually experiencing day to day. It looks like we have time for about one more question. So if anybody has a burning question at the top of their minds, please feel free to drop it into the chat and I'll answer it. If nobody drops a question in the next minute or so, we'll wrap up. Oh, and Patrick, on a good note, some of those replies were, sorry, I don't know anyone off the top of my head. I'll pass it around to the team or willing to ideate with you. What would be a great way to keep momentum on that response? Good question. So when somebody says, oh, I'll pass it around to the team, a couple different responses you could use there. One might be reaching out and saying, hey, great, I'd love to, reach out to any team members that you'd be passing the request along to as well. I'll just send a single email to them and let them know who I'm looking to speak with. Maybe they know somebody in their network. Who are 2 to 3 people that you recommend I get in touch with on your team? They might respond back, hey, I'll handle emailing those people on my team, in which case I'd set a follow-up reminder for a week or 2 weeks later just to follow up and be like, hey, by the way, here's an interesting article about the topic we were going to talk about or your industry. Did you have a chance to talk with the people on your team yet and see if they know anybody who would benefit from or works in this industry or is looking for this outcome? That could be a wonderful way to keep the momentum going in those conversations. So the short answer is apply follow-up, provide value in that follow-up, and don't let it sort of slip off the table. Make sure you're following up with them effectively to keep that conversation going. After 2, 3, maybe 4 follow-ups, if they're like, yeah, I'll get around to it, and they haven't done it yet, or they haven't said that they've done it yet, then I might back off on the follow up. But I think the obligation of keeping the momentum going is on you. So the best way to keep that momentum going is by consistent, polite, persistent follow up that adds value to that conversation. Uh, Dun, dun, dun. Glad you dig that, Patrick. Caesar asks, do you use any tools like CRMs to keep track of these conversations? Yes, I do. I haven't been talking a lot about tools because I view, if we think of like outreach as a 100 to 400 level game, sort of like a college course, we have the getting started with outreach, more advanced outreach, master level outreach. The tools typically come and play as you go, as you start to scale and go from, hey, I've emailed 10 people to, oh, hey, I've emailed 10 people once a week for the last 5 weeks. I'm now following up with 50 people. Kai, my brain is starting to melt. What should I do? Uh, the tools that I recommend using to manage these conversations, to keep track of them, to remind you when to follow up, there's two CRMs that I've tested and recommend. One is Streak. You could get it at, I think, streak.com. It's a Chrome add-on that adds features onto your Gmail inbox. It lets you define pipelines, create boxes for each conversation. A box basically represents a conversation or a deal that you're in the process of having, set follow-up reminders. I used it for about 2 years and absolutely loved it. It worked great for my outreach campaigns. About 6 months ago, I switched from Streak to Pipedrive. You could access it at pipedrive.com. It's much more of a typical CRM. It's a separate software as a service application that you could connect with your Gmail account. You might be able to connect it with another email account. I'm not sure about that. I use Gmail and I know it connects with Gmail to import conversations. And I use that to track all the conversations I'm engaged in an outreach campaign and set reminders. So I might have an email dialogue with somebody and they're like, hey, this is awesome. I'm headed out of town for the next 3 weeks. Can you follow up with me in 3 weeks and we'll keep the conversation going then? Within Pipedrive, I'm able to set just a follow-up reminder and say, okay, great, on this date, send a follow-up email. And then I have an activity view where it's like, okay, Kai, today you have these 7 different actions to take. Follow up with these 3 people, send these 3 people emails. And so Pipedrive has become my preferred tool, but I still highly recommend Streak. So I'd recommend either streak.com or pipedrive.com as that CRM to keep track of these conversations. The caveat again, you don't necessarily, thank you so much, Nathan. I owe you one for pasting those links in. The caveat again is when you're just getting started with outreach, you don't necessarily need that CRM to manage the conversations. I've pulled back from advocating bulk outreach tools like Reply or Blue Tick or CRMs like Streak or Pipedrive early on as people are getting started with outreach, just because it's yet another thing that people have to learn. You have to learn this new piece of software, and it gets in the way of sort of experiencing the outreach process. What I found to be more effective as people start with outreach is, let's do it as simple as possible. We're going to send 10 emails in Outlook or Gmail, and in a week, and we're going to keep track of it in a spreadsheet in like Excel or Google Docs. And in a week, we're going to follow up with people. And we continue with that method until it starts feeling like, oh, wow, this is a lot of data management. I'm starting to get burned out. When we reach that point, we now are experiencing a pain in our business that a CRM like Streak or Pipedrive is designed to solve. So if you're just getting started with an outreach campaign, I'd recommend do it manually for the first week or 2 weeks. And then once you start to say, "Whoo, boy, it's getting a little annoying," we're manually remembering to follow up with people, then start looking at Streak, Pipedrive, or your CRM of choice if you're already using a CRM to help automate and manage this process. We're just at time, so I'm going to wrap it here. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for asking absolutely wonderful questions. I'm going to send out a short email to everybody who attended or watched the recording and just ask for feedback about the talk, any topics I could explain better. All of the questions you all asked are absolutely excellent, and I'll be working them into my talk as I can. Once again, thank you all for being absolutely, absolutely amazing and coming out for this today. And I'll be doing more of these in the future, so I will make sure and let everybody know when the next webcast will be taking place. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful Thursday and an excellent Friday and a wonderful weekend. Talk to you all soon.